Hi, I'm Belle. Well, I'm back with Tim McKibben from the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales. Nice to see you again, Tim.
Good to see you too, Belle.
Yes. Now, today we are talking about bylaws.
Bylaws.
Bylaws, I know it sounds very serious. So, what are bylaws?
Well, bylaws are basically the set of rules, if you will, for the to facilitate the harmony and good administration of the strata.
Right, right.
So they cover things like the common property and general behavioural issues for the residents. And importantly, they're applicable to all of the residents within the strata.
Okay.
But you got to imagine, so I suppose, without bylaws, it'd be a free-for-all and be total chaos.
I mean, want that.
Everybody has a different viewpoint about the way things should be done. So unless we codify it and put a set of rules in there that would actually govern the way we conduct ourselves, then, as I said, it would be complete chaos.
We need those. So are there any standard bylaws?
I guess without sort of making an exhaustive list of the bylaws, things like parking restrictions and obviously one of that's quite contentious is the keeping of pets.
Yes.
And rubbish removal, use of common property. I think we mentioned a second ago there as a way of an example. Behaviour of the residents.
That's always a tricky
noise,
one.
hanging out of washing, and offensive behaviour. All those sorts of things are covered off in the bylaws.
Okay, so is that like where you can't have washing hanging over balconies and things like that?
Yeah, that is quite regularly prohibited because people form the view that it, I guess, detracts from the general view of the property. And
depends on the washing, doesn't it?
I'm guided by you in these things. And security and safety measures is another one that's quite regularly you'll find in the bylaws, and cover things like installation of floor coverings, air conditionings, TV antennas. So you can see it's all encompassing.
Wow, it covers quite a lot.
It certainly does.
So can these bylaws be changed?
Yeah, they certainly can. But again, as we've talked on previous occasions, that those sorts of things require the full strata to come together in a meeting to discuss those sort of changes.
Right.
They can't be changed by the executive committee in isolation.
Okay, so some of the common bylaws, like for example, if I wanted to get a cat, if I was living in a unit and I wanted to get a cat, do I need to get permission for that? I
suppose the answer to that is a potential yes and no. If your particular
yes and no,
it's the great lawyer's answer, isn't it? It's potentially if the bylaws themselves say that pets are permissible, then arguably yes, you can go and get your cat. But I think it's always wise to go and check with the executive committee, write to them and say, look, I'm thinking about doing this. I note that I'm allowed to do that, but then you're covered off then if you've got permission to go and do it.
Yeah, definitely, and then at least you know you're safe. So the other thing is parking. I know parking can be a bit of an issue. So if you have two cars but only one designated parking spot, how does that work?
Well, as I think you've answered your own question, if you only have one car space and you have two cars, you do have yourself, I guess, a certain problem.
Can you park on common property though?
No, is a short answer. In many places there are visitor parking set aside, but as the name would indicate, that is for visitors. So you can't use that as your particular car spot.
No,
so
visitors won't like that.
And neither will the other residents. And that's the reason, again, I guess we look back to the bylaws for this sort of guidance about what you can and can't do. And these bylaws are set up and designed to administer the thing in the best interest of everybody there.
Yep. What about giving a little facelift to your unit? Like, do you need permission to get something like new floorboards?
Again, I guess back to the example you gave me in relation to the pets, I think that in most cases, and you have to look, I guess, at your specific, the bylaws of your specific strata. But again, I think the wisest thing you can always do when you're looking at doing any sort of works to your property is to go to the strata committee, to the executive committee, and say, this is what I'm contemplating doing. Are there any issues with what I'm proposing? And then they'll give you a response, and you can work from there.
What happens if someone breaches a bylaw?
Well, I suppose if somebody does breach a bylaw, and these things happen, it's inevitable, the most important thing that everybody should do is talk about it, because in most cases that can be resolved by simply having a discussion about it and drawing people's attention regularly to their obligations of living within the particular strata. Unfortunately, I I suppose if that can't be done that way, then it has to take on a slightly more formal process.
Right.
And the owner's corporation would then write to the particular owner or resident and say to that person that you are in breach, and they would point that out in a formal notice. And then unfortunately, if their conduct can't be brought into order through that process, then the next thing the owner's corporation can do is go to the Consumer Traders and Tenancies Tribunal and seek some sort of penalty.
Wow. So the best thing is not to breach a bylaw.
I think you're getting the message.
Definitely. Well, lovely to see you again, and thank you for covering off that information about bylaws.
Thanks, Bill.